Institute of Music, the higher eds, with the healthcare institutions, with the city government, with county. We're now beginning to participate with statewide initiatives that expand the reach into our community and to other institutions. All of this to facilitate the interoperability and the interaction of these organizations so that we can begin to provide more effective e-government services to the community, better health care, better health education. And we're seeing collaboration now between educational healthcare institutions. I'm working on a project with Metro Health and Cuyahoga Community College to develop a healthcare educational outreach. Part of this addressing the digital divide issues, addressing the issues of disparity and what we'll call cultural education, because a lot of you that communicate with people all over the world know there's this big divide, not just, well, the technology is one thing and it might connect you, but there's a cultural divide between people that also needs to be bridged and gapped in a number of key areas. And in the area of healthcare, that's a big focus right now, is to be able to address that digital divide issue, be able to, you know, cross the cultural barrier and be able to provide services that they can benefit from. So one of the examples that I like to use is by enabling collaboration, what we're able to do here is to tie different organizations together. One of the first projects we got a grant for, the Cleveland Museum of Art, got a grant to deliver high-definition television out to the libraries. The whole idea here of doing this was to create not only a virtual tour type of model so that you can see the art and participate in a walkthrough of an art museum, but to create a storytelling exercise. You know, part of the problem with a lot of rich media is that it's out there, it's not archived very well, people don't know where it's at, don't know how to get it, it's not easily accessible, it's maybe not shared. And what we're trying to do is create a mechanism that we can create a real digital asset management type of infrastructure so we can make these kinds of things much more readily available, and then create a model of incorporating those digital assets into storytelling exercises. So the library's working on developing the storyline so that we can educate teachers how to incorporate art into the classroom and give them real-world visibility into the art. So if they go through the art museum one day, they can go away the next day, they can actually take a virtual tour, but not only do the virtual tour, but interact with the potential artist and interact with educators who across the world, who heavily involved in different types of art, different genre. And so there's a real creative thing. The other thing looking at doing is things like poetry slams and other things. These are just interactive opportunities across the community where we interact like we would here, but we're interacting in multiple locations. So our ultra broadband network facilitates the ability to connect these institutions so they can do these high bandwidth applications and then create opportunities around them. One of the others that is being worked on right now, and it's in the Institute of Music, does every year several events where they do one day, 2 day, 3 day, and they go on for 48 hours or 72 hours. But they'll bring in artists, and they'll have an orchestra one part of the day. They'll have special artists different parts of the day, and they create this virtual connected event from artists from all over the world. So there's real interesting things that are going on. The other things that you find happening here are cultural exchanges, in the sense of there was a performance that was put on with music and dance where the actual dancers were in 2 different cities. They were in Cleveland and they were out in California. And they participated via high-definition television in a virtual event where we had real actors participating with virtual actors in a exchange of of culture there that actually became a very innovative performance event. So those are the kind of things that people are beginning to do, create the opportunities, identify how to use the technology, leverage that technology. One of the things we've been able to do is really work and collaborate with a number of technology innovators and leaders. We participate with IBM and Cisco, which helped donate equipment to get our network up and running. So we now have gigabit network throughout the greater Cleveland area, and as I said, are expanding regionally. And that's driven by Cisco right now, and IBM is an operating and design partner that we use. You might have seen most recently there was an announcement in the paper just the other day. Intel is committed to Cleveland as a digital city and wants to help facilitate making Cleveland a really leading edge digital city. There's a lot entailed in that. I mean, that's a lot of things. It's not just one piece of technology. It's integration of technologies, integration of applications and services. And they've made a long-term commitment to Cleveland. And so far, they've only made this commitment to 3 cities. So we're one of 3 cities here in Cleveland. They made a commitment to have 3 pilot projects a year where they would develop applications and innovative applications, whether it has to do with EMS and what we call first responder type of approach, whether it has to do with mobility, and whether it has to do with transportation, the water department, or just making e-government more efficient. So we can think about doing other things, save some money. That's a good thing, but also take that money and spend that on very creative applications. Sun has become a partner of ours and has donated into creating a technology center, and they're working with Case Western and IdeaStream, which is our public broadcasting group out here, who's looking at very innovative ways to do digital cataloging and the asset management piece that I mentioned. And what they're looking at is doing basically IP video distribution using our ultra broadband network. And so they're creating an opportunity to do this asset management, be able to capture and distribute. And of course, IdeaStream, being a public broadcast, is one of the first really moving towards the digital age. And so now they're looking at ways to really be creative and do more innovative things with the kinds of broadcasting and the content that they have available to them. And they're also heavily involved in educational outreach. City Signal donated the fiber to us. And then what we recently did is we developed a relationship with Adelphia and Time Warner. What this did for us is, you saw our fiber footprint, but what they were able to do for us is really give us ubiquitous reach throughout about a 14-county region. So we were able to create flat infrastructure, so I can have gig service interconnections throughout 14 counties. And I had a fixed price model to do that, which is very innovative for the region and for us, because we get this at a very good rate, and it takes away the barrier for a lot of institutions that couldn't buy that kind of access before. They were happy with a T1. Now they get a gig. Big difference. Can do a lot more. Can start thinking about other things. Can begin to share resources, offset cost. Can begin to develop new and innovative applications. Some of the partners and the founders of One Cleveland include Case, of course, with Lev, who really was the brainchild behind it. But you can see we have, a lot of the local government. We have the City of Cleveland, the Cleveland Municipal School District, Cuyahoga Community College, public libraries, the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority, public broadcasting station, Cleveland State University and Nortec, which is a nonprofit sponsor of the kinds of activities we have, looking at creating new and innovative technologies in the region, whatever they may be. The nice thing about this who's who in this community is you can see a broad-based community participation. And that's one of the valuable propositions to deploying this kind of infrastructure. Because any of you are familiar with the cost of deploying fiber and deploying equipment on fiber, and then managing and operating those kinds of infrastructures. They're not cheap. And part of the problem we have is that's what the carriers see. The carriers see it's not cheap, and they don't want to deploy it unless they're making some money doing that. And what we've been able to do is leverage the donations that we've received via fiber and donations and equipment to initialize an activity that we can really lower that cost barrier of entry for a lot of these member institutions and partners of these institutions, and really open the door now to some very creative ideas. We've also been getting a lot of recognition for Northeast Ohio. One of the advantages is sort of stepping off the ledge and making a commitment and starting to do some of this type of work is that people ask you how you get it done. And they want to, what are you doing? Where are you going with it? How can we help? Which is another interesting segue that occurs. But we've really received a lot of press. We were recognized, believe it or not, in Cleveland as being one of the top digital cities in the world. We were one of 18 cities recognized in the world, which is pretty amazing. I mean, you look at Cleveland and you say, how did that happen? But what we've created is a lot of buzz and not only a lot of buzz, but we've created some real visual opportunities and some pilot projects that have really enabled us to begin to expand the concept throughout our community. So we're getting a lot of press. Now there's value in this. What's the value in getting press or working towards press? Is that by getting this kind of international recognition, we get a lot of media attention, okay? What's the value of media attention? It communicates our mission, our goals, our objectives, what we're trying to accomplish within the community. And what it also does is it creates a vehicle to engage us with applications providers, applications developers, new tools, innovative ways of doing things. We're part of the enablement model, right? You got to connect people, resources, and tools together so that you can make things happen. And that's part of what really happens through this recognition model, is that we get connected with very innovative people who have wonderful ideas that can help the community begin to change the way it does business, help the community to transform. But the other opportunity has been really kind of a sidebar here, and it's been working in our favor over the last couple of years, is a lot of companies want to come here. They want to play in our sandbox now. So we have guys like Intel who come here and say, hey, I'm going to donate some money to help kick off a pilot application. I want to work at developing innovative tools in your community. I'm willing to help fund some of these pilot projects to move things along. So the opportunity now is to get grants and donations to help fund and initiate some of these activities. So that helps accelerate what we're trying to achieve, which is the deployment of technology. And as a result of that, even Intel recognizes, if you look, these are the cities that Intel recognizes as the top digital cities worldwide. And One-Cleveland is actually the only proper name, you know, it's the only proper name on here. Otherwise, all you see is cities. So they've really recognized the One-Cleveland initiative as a top city and a top initiative that they want to participate and invest in. You know, as a result of this, one of the things we have to realize is that you know, fiber and broadband technology is just one aspect of getting, you know, organizations connected. To create a broader reach, we have to look at things like wireless technologies. This is something that Intel is very interested in. Is creating a digital community means that I have to create the ability to get to a broader base of the populace, of the community. And so they're very focused on, you know, providing wireless services. And our focus in the community is really on government applications, on healthcare, on services for the community. So looking at providing and creating an environment that we can begin to look at things like e-health and distance learning and 911 services, and we can look at that and how that advances the community, how it helps healthcare emergency response, you know, how it enhances the ability for you to interact with government, how it enhances the educational paradigm. Some of the applications that we're beginning to look at as early pilots here, not only you've got the concepts that we all are facing today, you've got the mobile phones, you got wireless, hey, that's a great, wonderful thing, but what's going to happen next? How do you really engage the community? How do you do other things? And so one of the ways we have to look at is creating a broader range or an umbrella of wireless types of technologies out here so we can get connected to more people, provide internet for the education, healthcare services in our area. Look at other aspects. What funds this kind of technology deployment? And unfortunately, it's not generally the user or the subscriber that funds this program. It takes initiatives that really have money behind them and that have cost savings that result from the deployment of these technologies. So a lot of the things that we're looking at now are in the control, the monitoring type of areas and location finding areas, because those are areas that government can create and enhance services to the community. Those are ways that you know, we can increase and improve safety. Those are ways that we can improve the emergency response model. And you don't think about it, but very simple things like managing trucks and inspectors in the community costs a lot of money. And you guys, anybody who's in our community is hearing about the overtime in the police department, the overtime of fire, yada yada. You can go down the hill, and when you start really investigating what happens here, these guys are going back, you know, from the field to the office. They spend a couple hours writing reports. They do all kinds of other things that they could have easily done in the field. They could have exchanged information out in the field. They could be more mobile in the process of their services. The other things is automating the applications in such a way, so like for a city, if you